Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Miriam Glaze from Athlete Soul. Welcome to our Tuesday morning webinar. I'm going to take a few minutes to let everybody come in. Sorry, we're a little late today. We had some technical difficulties, but everybody's here and it's now working. So we're going to give it a few minutes to let everybody join us. We had a few people registered, and this is actually a follow-up to our previous webinar that we did in May. We actually did a series on athlete branding, and we had a first part on these alternative sources of revenue for athletes that we did in May with four guests. So today we're actually going with four ladies. Last time we had four guys. We're going to be starting with our Olympian on the call because it's Olympic Day and we want to celebrate that. But before we start, I'm going to go through the usual housekeeping, and then we'll get started with the girls from Rise. So first of all, the event is recorded. We keep all our recording on our website. You can access those very easily on athletesoul.space/events. I will also be sending the recording to all of our participants. You can ask questions to any of our guests. I encourage you to do that throughout the presentation. You can do that by going into the Q&A box or the chat box and asking your question. I will record the question and ask them at the end of the webinar. As I said, this is a follow-up on the previous webinar. Last time we talked about influencer marketing. We talked about coaching, personal training. So we're staying in those same topic of what can athletes do to create or generate supplemental revenue while they're still competing or as they're transitioning out of sport. So we're going to get started straight away. We're basically presenting three companies, three things that athletes can do. We're going to spend about 10 minutes on each of them, and then at the end we'll take questions and we'll go through a conversation. So first we're going to start with Rebecca and Caroline from Rise Athlete. They're both Olympic swimmers, actually both medalists at the Olympic Games. And then they co-founded Rise Athletes, which you're going to talk about and you'll explain, so I'll let you go into this. The two girls have a wonderful, incredible palmarès. They have a great result at the Olympics. They were obviously swimming for Team USA for a while. So I'll let you two introduce yourself a little bit, give us a background on your career, and then what you're doing with Rise, okay?
Amazing, thank you. I'm Rebecca Soni, an Olympic swimmer. I swam in 2008 and 2012 Olympic Games. 6 medals, 3 gold, 3 silver. Breaststroker, that was the only event I could do, only stroke I could do. And yeah, I now live in Bend, Oregon. Caroline and I started Rise in 2015, so we're going 5 years or so strong, and we're excited to share with you a little bit about it today.
Awesome. I'm Caroline Buerkle. I swam in the 2008 Olympics in Beijing with Rebecca. We actually have known each other. I knew her older sister as a kid, and then Rebecca and I became friends through our career, and then ultimately to start Rise. So competed 2008, got a bronze medal, and retired in 2010 or 11-ish. It's one of those years in there. And I live in Los Angeles, California now.
Yeah, so, you know, once I retired in 2012, I went through the transition that a lot of athletes experience and just grappling at what's next and also trying to make sense of what happened. It felt like this big disconnect between Rebecca the athlete and Rebecca the non-athlete who doesn't really know how to do anything, it felt like, other than swim on a pool deck. And so there was a lot of reflective of how did I even accomplish what I did. It didn't really seem to make sense. I wasn't the biggest, the tallest, the strongest, the most fit necessarily. So I started to come around to this concept of mindset. And even though mindset, I think, played a huge role in my athletic career, I really hadn't thought about it too much. I hadn't given it a lot of conscious effort during my career. I know that I naturally did really well at the mental aspects of sport, which allowed me to do as well as I did in my career. But afterwards, I started to really, it was actually through a course in positive psychology that I started to really see the value of mindset. And as you know, we're getting asked to do swim clinics and lessons, and these are great ways to monetize yourself as an athlete and to help youth, but it didn't really connect. For me, it felt like something was missing. I'm not a coach. I can't look at a swimmer and see what's wrong with their technique or how to improve. That's not how I functioned. It was more the mindset elements, and slowly started to realize that there's so much there. There's so much rich, valuable information about ourselves, as well as opportunity for growth that just really wasn't being talked about. And so we founded Rise as a way to bring that into the benefit of both youth athletes who we're mentoring, as well as to the elite athletes, those of us, the professional athletes, well, Olympians was our main focus, giving them a way to give back. And also knowing that these kids look up to these Olympians and they're going to listen to them. You know, oftentimes parents will say like, oh, you're telling, like, this is something I've tried to tell my kid for so long and they never listened to me, but you said it once and now they are living this, what, you know. So we're really just completing that trifecta of support for youth athletes, from parents, coaches, and now mentors. So Rise Athletes is an online mentorship platform, and we essentially connect youth athletes with Olympians and allow them to build and develop their athlete mindset. And we have a really rich library of exercises and resources. We bring in a training component. Caroline and I are both have our degrees in psychology, sports psychology, and positive psychology specifically. And so it really was this blend of trying to, of course, give back to the community and serve these youth athletes, but also serve this community. You know, it started with me calling Caroline calling me all the time, like, how do we deal with this transition? How do we deal with all these skills that we have that we can't quite put into use? How do we do this and that? And just building off of that, we wanted to create a community, a space for those of us athletes that no longer have a team. We no longer have a coach. We no longer have this support and guidance. Well, we now created that through Rise as a way to really leverage the missing gaps once you leave sport. So some things that we're really excited about being able to offer: we have a brand new platform. Everything is done virtually. We can connect with athletes across the world in an instant. We actually just launched a whole new makeover of our platform and really excited about the features that it has. So it makes things super easy and a lot more accessible. You know, the athlete and their mentor are able to access each other really easily, as well as things like being able to financially support Olympians in their transition, athletes in their transition, finding a way to, without leaving your home, be able to monetize your skills, your value, you know, your knowledge, and also giving them this really rewarding feeling that I never really got from teaching swim lessons and clinics. You know, those are great, but this is like getting to know another human one-on-one, super close, kind of diving in with them, as well as the opportunity to offer health insurance for those that we consider full-time mentors. So they work with at least 10 athletes. They have an opportunity to have health insurance through Rise, which is huge. It was one of the biggest struggles for me as an athlete. It's like, you retire and all of a sudden you have no health insurance and you have to pay out of pocket. So we're really excited to be able to offer a lot of those things. But I'll pass it over to Caroline to add a little bit more to that too.
Yes, well said. You know, when you forget all of the things that you're actually creating and then you hear someone talk about it, specifically the person you work with every day, you're like, oh yeah, you know, that is really great. So that being said, I specifically am very connected to the community aspect of what Rise has created. And I remember leaving grad school, well, it was like my last week. I was finishing exams. And I get this call from Rebecca, and here I am, you know, grad school sports psychology. Like, I don't know what I want to do. Typical. I just did this 2-year degree now. I don't know what I want to do with my life again. I guess I could just, you know, work for someone or find my way around this space of sports psychology. I don't really get it. You know, in 2015, it wasn't as popular yet. You know, it was still like a budding concept to work on mindset and sport. And so I get this call from Rebecca, and I'm standing in my parking lot in my apartment complex. And she said, so I have this great idea. After everything we've talked about, I've been creating this concept of mentoring youth athletes. And I've been working with several myself and have created all this content, these videos. And I'm just sitting here like, this is amazing. Like, tell me more. And she said, would you like to start working with an athlete? I have a couple inquiries, and I would like to have other people work with it. And I know you have your degree in this. And I said, absolutely, like, put me in. And I still have that athlete, my first athlete today, 5 years later. I still work with her. So it was a really special moment for me. It was a story I'll never forget, because I literally committed to the next chapter of my life in a parking lot at my apartment complex in the blazing Tennessee heat, just in the middle of the fall, or in the summer, just like, I don't know what to do with my life. So as she said, these same feelings were coming up for me. You know, 5 years after I had retired, at this moment in time, I was still like, what do I want to do? And so when she said that, I felt this sense of community immediately. I felt like I was in a space where I could be a part of something, even if it was just with one other person that so happened to be my friend, that so happened to have experience just as similar, if not more, than I had had in that space. So we started Rise right then and there, and we brought on another Olympian a couple of months later, I think, or a month or two later, who's still with us today as well. And so Rise, not only as a business opportunity and professional opportunity for these Olympic athletes, which we're going to be moving more towards a professional athlete setting as well. So not just Olympians, but working with professional athletes to mentor as well. It provides a sense of community. So when they come into on our team, they're looking for not only a way to excel themselves professionally, but also become a part of a community and a culture of leadership that is similar to what they were raised in and similar to what they experienced their entire career, which is being a leader, being a part of a team, being a part of a huge collective of people that are elite athletes and professional Olympic athletes. So that hits close to home for me, because I know that it is something, as Reb and I have both mentioned, is so important when an athlete is transitioning or inside of their sport, to be able to contribute and give back, and also be a part themselves of a greater cause. So at Rise, we have several ways for this community to feel like a community, not only behind the scenes as a team, but also outside, which pre-COVID was more in-person workshops, and now they're online workshops, as well as the individual mentoring. So that has been a really great thing, to put themselves in front of athletes and to also feel like they're doing the same thing that their peers are doing as well. And I know it's hard to say it all in such a short time, but there is something to be said again about the power of community and creating a team of people that are all trying to make a difference in the lives of themselves and also in the lives of the next generation of youth athletes. So it's that mutual relationship and mutual benefit.
Wow, it's great to hear you two describe. You know, I've known you for a little while, and I've been following what was going on with Rise, but it's great to hear you describe the whole project from the beginning to now. I have quite a few follow-up questions for you too. I would like to move on to Annette, but then we'll come back to Rise, and we'll get more dip into how this relates to our audience and current and former athletes. So I want to now move on to Annette, who is a former model, actress, spokesperson, red carpet host. She has 25 years experience in the talent creation business side of entertainment and fashion. I hope I'm covering everything here. Annette, I'll pass on to you. You can further introduce yourself and tell us more also about Naturally Fit and how that can benefit both competing and recently retired athletes.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and I was so excited when I heard about what you're doing, because I had never heard about a platform that does this, and I think I'm the only non-athlete on the panel, right? So, but I absolutely love and admire and am inspired by athlete stories. So it's interesting how I ended up representing mostly former athletes, pro athletes. So anyway, yes, I started over 25 years ago. The years keep adding up. And I started off as a model and an actress, a commercial actress, and then transitioned into hosting. And so even just coming from the entertainment industry, it's so important to diversify. And I think that's the theme or the thread into all of this, is that as a commercial actor and then a commercial print model and then a spokesperson host, as I got older, and I was, I believe, in my late 30s, early 40s, and I had my second and third. I have 3 kids back to back. I wanted to look at doing something else, and something connected to the industry though. So I started consulting, and I made it into a business. Actually, it was in my mid-40s, sorry. And I wanted to make it into a business because I had always absolutely loved helping my friends and friends of friends. In the entertainment industry, I would see them and maybe see skills in them or see talent in them that I, wanted to veer into another direction and help them. So I started the Model Consultant in 2015. And I didn't know how it would take off or what would happen. I just knew that my youngest kid was starting first grade, and those of you that are moms know that that's more hours in school. So, I wanted to add on, something that I could transition into. And very quickly, within 6 weeks, I was in 6 states, and doing it not just during school hours, but at night and weekends. So that whole, idea of starting a business to do when your kids are in school didn't really happen that way, but it was such a blessing that it blew up the way that it did. And my objective was just to help people, to provide honest advice and direction, because in the entertainment industry, there are so many wrong turns. And unfortunately, you hear about the stories about people who kind of circle around the industry for years and years, and they never really know the way to do it correctly, because it's an industry that's wonderful and amazing, and there's so many positives, but there's just as many negatives if you choose to go the wrong way or you listen to somebody with really bad advice. So I started doing that, and I was consulting actors and models and talent photographers, entertainment professionals, and agencies. And one of the agencies that I started consulting was Naturally Fit, agency out of Texas. And I actually had my first fitness model that I consulted out of Chicago. And so I had to find her a fitness agency, and I found Naturally Fit agency, worked with them for a year, absolutely loved their energy and the way that they worked. And they asked me if I would open up their Los Angeles office, which they had always wanted to do. So consequently, I did, and I ended up being much more involved in it than I ever expected, because you can't really have somebody else do your vision. You have to be in it every step of the way. And my vision was to work with talent, because I knew as an actor and a model and such that I wasn't the tallest or the skinniest, and I know that the first speaker had mentioned something similar, that I wasn't the tallest, the skinniest, the most talented, but I had heart and professionalism, and I studied hard, and that's why I worked. So there were always girls that were much better than me and more talented, but I knew that it was because I understood the business side. So so that's what I wanted to teach with the models and talent, the fitness models and talent that we were signing. I got a lot of eye rolls in the beginning, because people thought, how can you run an agency that is geared towards aesthetics. It's about how you look. It's about your height. It's about your bone structure. And I said, no, it's, you know, there's in Los Angeles, where the entertainment capital of the world, there's a lot of talent and a lot of beauty here, but I didn't want just that. I wanted more. I wanted people who had heart, and I wanted stories. So within 3 months, we signed our first professional NFL athlete. And then it's a big industry, obviously, but it's also very small, where word gets around. And so word got around quickly with Olympians and professional level athletes that we were different, and that we cared, and that we worked with our athletes in a different way. And the same thing I did with transitioning models and actors, or even moms, right, into the entertainment industry for perhaps a second career, I started doing with athletes. And it eventually, within the first year, we pretty much weren't signing models. We were signing athletes, because I came from that commercial world, which is very vanilla. And the reason I worked is because I was the Midwestern type mom. And so I think part of that, my excitement, was I'm working with athletes that have these stories of overcoming challenges, and they made it to the Olympics, or they are on, you know, the Washington Redskins or the Giants or whatever it is. And so to me, it was very, very exciting and inspirational. And so, but I didn't look at them really as a fan. I looked at them as, can they work in the entertainment industry? And not all of them can. So when I would interview them, I would see where they wanted to go and how they wanted to transition. And what I saw is that many of the athletes, when they're coming out of the pros, or even when they're still in the pros, but they're off season and they want to do something else in between, right? A lot of them did want to do commercials, and they wanted to do, obviously, those Super Bowl commercials, right? And being in the entertainment industry for as long as I've been, when I was a commercial actor, I would pretend to be a soccer player, or pretend to be a yoga instructor, or whatever it was, because that was what a commercial actor did. And I would book some of those roles. And so you would come in and act like you're a soccer pro, or act like, well, now the industry has changed so much, where they actually want the real soccer pros. They want the real NFL players. They want the real, you know, the real deal. So I think opening the agency, the LA office, 3.5 years ago was perfect timing, because America wants those stories too. And they want those real athletes in the commercials. And you've seen an increase in that. And it's just, I mean, it gives me goosebumps, because it is so inspirational. So consequently, when you have a pro athlete going out on an audition where 5,000 submissions are for that one role, I make sure that they are commercially trained, not through us. They can Google, they can go anywhere they want. We don't get kickbacks on anything. I don't believe in that. I believe that we make our money when we get commission, and that athlete is trained. They're going to do better, going to book the job. We are probably the only agency that I know of for athletes that requires them to be commercially trained. Because I was a commercial actor, I know it's a skill, and it's going up against such fierce competition. It's going to give them the edge to book the role. So in the 3.5 years, we've grown a lot, and we transitioned into probably 40% of our business now is in the influencer side. And I help monetize athletes to not only do commercial and print, that's one division, but if they're an influencer with, let's say, 25,000 or more followers, we range from 25,000 to about 4 million. I help them to monetize. I help them to brand. I look at their Instagram and see what if their brand is speaking clearly. And then I help them to learn how to do inbound. And then also, I'm very good at negotiating partnerships, and I look at it from a different perspective of how to make the brand successful. So consequently, the brands want to book their influencer athletes through us. We don't believe in rev share. We believe that influencers need to be paid. So we look at long-term deals, which is wonderful when somebody is training, like let's say you're training for the next Olympics, or you're in, school studying to be something, else, or whatever it is. It's absolutely amazing to get a partnership that's a year or 2 years. I just did one yesterday for 2 years. And to be able to get that income where you're basically posting from home. So I don't know if I spoke over my time, but
no, you're doing fine, and it was really good to hear you describe. Thank you, Annette, because it's really good to hear you describe the different areas of the business that you cover and how you help athletes through that. I do also have a lot of questions for you, but let's move on to Shikha, and then we'll come back for a discussion altogether. So Shikha was a collegiate and professional tennis player. She's also an entrepreneur now, an activist. She does a lot of different things. She's the co-founder or founder of Indi.com. She's going to talk about the company in a minute. Shikha, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit more and talk to us about the company and your upcoming launch.
Sure. Thank you so much, Miriam. Thanks for having me. And Caroline, Rebecca, Annette, it's like such a pleasure to be amongst you and on this panel with you. It gives you a little burst when you're with such extraordinary women who have transitioned, into various phases of their careers and done well, and more than well in every aspect of them. So congratulations to you. So yes, Miriam, my background, you got it. Professional tennis player, represented India on the tour, played about a decade and got to top 100. I didn't get to play in the Olympics, unfortunately. That was a big goal of mine, but I do feel some comfort in saying, I did win India a silver medal in the Asian Games in 2006. So not quite an Olympic silver medal, but an Asian Games medal. And then, went on and retired-ish, as Rebecca, I think you said, somewhere in the middle. Miriam, you're probably used to hearing that, like, there's no kind of definitive date of retiring. So 2000, around both the time you all said, Caroline, Rebecca, 10, 11-ish, 12-ish, in that range, but went back to college and finished my undergrad at Princeton, and really, really wanted to create impact in the world. And I had that mission in my mind. I didn't know exactly how, but I knew it was going to be with content, right? And you get this kind of idea, even though you live in such a myopic view of the world with just your sport and how you're doing, but you can kind of sense what's happening around you, and content was going to take off, and short form content, and everybody's got cell phones and things like that. What does that mean, and how does one capitalize on any of that? So I graduated in 2013 and got into content production with my television company, Impact Media, and created and produced social impact reality TV shows. Around that time, or shortly after, Indi.com came along, and my husband and I got to co-found the Asia Pacific operations of that organization, which is a technology SaaS platform that sits at the intersection of brands, social media, customers, and content, short form content. We ran that for about 5 years and came back over to the US. I'm currently now in Irvine, California, and I'm serving as the president of Indi Individuals, which is a sister company to Indi Engage. And so Indi Individuals was born on the premise that the individual is the next big brand. And Annette, I think, this is the world you're in. And so you get exactly what I'm saying here. But what I'm trying to add to that is every single person has something unique to say and can monetize that. What we find right now, which is a little bit unfortunate, is the structures of, I guess you could say, income inequality or social disparity that we're seeing in the real world or in real life IRL, is mimicking itself into the virtual world as well. Opportunities for monetization across social media or digital platforms are really reserved for an expert, top influencer. Even micro influencers, nano influencers are getting something, but to sustain and make a living is making it's very difficult. So what Indi is doing is, we have an app that Miriam was talking about, our launch, which is coming out next week. If you can go to Indi.com right now and sign up for it, that'd be great. But you could check it a little bit more what we're doing. Sorry, a little shameless plug there. But what's happening on this app is an opportunity for every individual to monetize in 4 unique ways. The first way we call Love It. Love It is effectively an opportunity for you to tag the products that are in your content. So, we're making content all day long, selfies or TikTok videos or whatever it is. Create the same content, but start tagging the products that are in it. And you generate specific links or special tracking links for the products that you've tagged, such that whenever somebody purchases from those links, you earn a commission. What this is saying is, people make content, refer products all day long, or talking about them, or that they're just subtly in their content and don't ever get a commission for what they've referred. And there's a huge disconnect for people, especially for athletes. And we can talk a little bit about what athletes are doing with the data that they're getting with this. But before I go into that, I wanted to just talk about, we have the 3rd largest catalog, or what we think is the 3rd largest catalog in the country, with 80 million products and 2,000 retailers. So you have a world of products that you can tag in your content and earn passive income every day, just by creating, tagging, and sharing. The beauty behind Love It is that it's authentic, right? It's not like something that you are supposed to promote. As a former athlete, if I didn't believe in something, it was very hard for me to kind of endorse that product. Although you needed the cash, it was a tough decision to make. But here, whatever I actually use and I sincerely love, I promote and I use, and I get the links for, and I earn that income. The second way to monetize is a feature that we call Know It. So everybody has something unique to say, has a life experience, maybe a hobby, a skill set, or an expertise if you're an athlete, that you could monetize again on by creating content for now up to 10 minutes and charging for it. $1, $100, $200, whatever you like. And so if I want to teach or create fitness for tennis workout videos, a series of 10, or just a la carte, I have an opportunity through this app to create them and charge the prices that I want to charge. There's no middle person in the way here. This is entirely on me to be able to choose what I want to make as and when I want to, in case I'm busy or don't feel like it, or really get behind it and get into it and charge what I feel is right. So that's Love It. There's Know It. Check it and shout it. And because we're speaking to the right audience here, I think this is more lucrative for this specific audience. Check It is an opportunity for your fans, followers, community to reach out to you and ask you questions for advice or feedback, specifically with video. It's a 2-way interactive experience. I used to and still do get asked all the time, hey, could you check my forehand technique? I just keep missing this ball out. And I'm like, okay, sure. Next time, I'm near you and we could play tennis, I'll have a look. Or, okay, why don't you just send me a video and I'll just call you and tell you what you're doing wrong. Here, that same person can send me a video, pay for me to review it, and I can write on the video. I can respond back with my video. Hey, this is what you're doing wrong. Here's the technique you need to fix, and return that right back to them, and get paid for my time and expertise. So that's Check It. And the last one is Shout It. So this is where, if I want to say something inspirational to my audience or my fans, or if I want to reach out to a celebrity or an athlete that really inspires me, wish me good luck for my next big test or my next big match that's coming up, I can. So these are the first 4 ways. The 5th way is something that we are launching just after we release, and that's something that we call SLM, an SLM model. And we work a lot with representation agencies as well. We're getting them going onto this because there's, like you said, a heavy commission opportunity. If you're a thought leader, an athlete with large following, the opportunity for you to monetize on your base is tenfold here, or exponential. Because what happens in this model is the people that you bring on to the app, you earn a commission from what Indi makes, not from them. And we're sharing that commission with you. So there's an exponential ability to earn because you are able to capitalize on your network capital. So these are the current ways. I won't get into what's in the pipeline coming up, but it is effectively a super app, and it's all about individuals making money. You know, when you retire from a sport or you're trying to figure out what you're doing next, I think a large part of the pain is, now what do I do? It's the drop also of like, I used to be this person that, you know, the world, or I was supposed to be on this kind of status or this pedestal, right? Now where am I? Like, where's my ground? Where's up? Where's down? Where's all around? And the third part with the pain for me was, what do I do with what I've built and achieved? How do I even quantify that? How can I leverage that and monetize that? I mean, you know, Facebook was just coming out when I was playing, and then they had this whole celeb feature, and then there's these thousands of people that follow me, and I didn't get to monetize that, or I didn't get to at least reach out or talk or connect or have a valuable interaction with those people. What about my knowledge base? I mean, it's just this one-off. If somebody has my phone number or email, they can get in touch with me, or maybe Facebook me, or right. So capitalizing on my knowledge capital, network capital, and just ability to add value into the world, no matter how well I did on my tennis career, or how big or small I am, or how many followers I have, that's what I'm looking to do. So that's what the app is looking to do. And of course, I'm behind that. So I'm looking to do that for everybody. I want that for everybody. That is the heart of what Indi is all about. I will measure my success by this time next year when at least 50% of the users are making $100 minimum a month and can count on Indi to make money for themselves. Yeah, so that's Indi. Thanks for letting me talk about it so deeply.
Thanks, Shikha, and thanks to all of you for you know, your introduction and the description of what you're doing in your companies. So I'm gonna go straight into questions that are pretty pointed, just so that we have a better understanding of each of your companies. The point of today was really to present again some more options. We're talking about options for athletes to have support to generate revenue while they're still competing, or during that transition that sometimes is difficult. And you know, most of our audience is made of athletes that are not at the pro level or at the top of the pro level, and so they're looking for little bits here and there to supplement their career and support their passion and what they do every day. So that's where you guys come in, and you are one of these options. There are others, and we talked about it before. I'll start with with Rise Athletes. I always knew, and you mentioned it, I think, Rebecca, I always knew Rise as being solely for the Olympian, and you mentioned that you were opening up to the pros. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started, the last 5 years have been focused on the Olympian and playing off of that, you know, niche market. But we're seeing a lot of interest in it, and we're seeing a lot of people really resonate with the material, with the mindset development, and wanting to help, wanting to both, you know, give that out to the world and bring that into their own lives. So yeah, we're opening it up, offering them to become mentors as well, to participate in the training and to start working with youth athletes. And we're really, really excited about that.
Okay, that's great to know, because obviously it opens up the door to a lot more people. You mentioned the professional athletes or the Olympian are working as mentors to youth athletes. Can you tell us what the target audience, the age of the audience is?
Yeah, we're somewhere between 13 and up. So we say that you're getting to that point as a youth athlete where it's not all perfect, where it's not all rainbows and butterflies. And I love swimming so much, but like you're actually kind of hitting a little bit of a resistance of like, ooh, this is hard and I'm not doing as well as I used to, and I'm struggling and I can't quite find my way. So it's not a strict age restriction, but 13 and up, relatively speaking. We've worked with athletes all the way through college and even up towards professional level. So there's no limit necessarily with that, but yeah, at least that relative 13 and up age.
And the athletes that are working with Rise, they're the mentors. Do they need to be retired? Can they do that when they're still competing? If I'm an Olympian and I'm still going strong, can I still be part of Rise and work with you guys?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. There's no requirement to be retired, but we do pretty extensive, getting to know the mentors. It's not necessarily that you can click a button and sign up. We want to make sure that you're on the same page with a lot of the material that we're teaching and
Perfect. That was going to be my next question.
Have good intentions. Yeah.
how much training do the athletes get from you guys? How much of the material do they know to get started and working with Rise?
Yeah, we have a training program. It's a couple weeks long. It's both, we have a course online as well as time together as a community where we share personally. So yeah, we do a pretty good training course. Again, it's based on sports psychology and positive psychology components. And we're having the mentors, future mentors, go through a lot of the exercises and mindset tools for themselves so that once they connect with youth athletes, they can speak from experience about here's how this helped me, and knowing what it's going to do for the youth athletes. So it's giving them that firsthand experience, which also is elevating themselves in their own lives. So it's not them, working through sports specific stuff, but I use these exercises and tools for my everyday life through building this business, through relationships and navigating, partnerships, to, you name it. There's always work to be done. And I think that's why Caroline and I are so passionate about it, is that we're doing this all the time and we get to share it with our friends, our peers, as well as with the next generation.
Fabulous. That sounds like a no-brainer and a fantastic tool for any athlete. I mean, those are skills you develop on a daily basis, and picking within your own toolbox to be able to support your current journey, I think is fantastic. I'm going to pass on to Annette again. So if I'm an athlete and I'm still competing, can I work at becoming a fitness model? And if so, how do I get started? What would be my first step to get into the industry?
Yes, you can. We do have some who most are retired, or a lot of them are collegiate athletes as well. But we do have some who are current, and they come to us off season and we book them on jobs. They would submit through the agency. However, this is a good pointer, is that if an agency is really busy and doing an amazing job, a lot of times they don't look at the submissions as often as they should. We get so many hundreds that I don't see. And one example is I had a gold medalist Olympian submit a couple times, and I never saw it. And also the photos were not something that would catch my eye. So if the photo doesn't catch my eye, even if I am looking and I don't look at the little note that says gold medalist Olympian, which obviously I'm going to want to see him. He ended up contacting a couple of our other pros, Olympians on the roster, to say, hey, can you get her to see me? And it worked. And that's something to do if you're looking at an agency and they're just not responding. Look on their roster, see who you know, get in touch with them and say, can you get me an interview? Because with my current guys, if they refer anybody, I will look, I will take calls, and I will talk with them. Not everybody is right for the agency. I think something I failed to mention in the intro is that we're not, well, I kind of touched on it a little bit, is that we're not about pretty faces, nice abs, and great butts. That to us is, it's there. We are about the heart. and overcoming those challenges and their stories and inspiration. So if it's somebody that has that and also has that skill set, where something that a lot of the casting directors and producers and such that are booking these big jobs, they look at your form. So if a lot of Olympians have great strides, even if they're not runners, they know form. So so picking those photos to submit to an agency is really important, more so than a really great headshot for a regular commercial. We want to see your form. We want to see your stride, which I can't, but I'm trying. We want to see that you have that, and that you're able to photograph it well, and also obviously of your face, to see that you photograph well and everything. Something else that my basketball players comment on a lot, and that I have one basketball player who books a lot because he knows how to work the camera during an audition. A lot of athletes think when you go into audition that you're playing the Super Bowl or you're playing like a real game, and they don't realize that the camera's over here. So if you're doing a play, you need to angle for the camera, because if you audition and they just see your back, you're not going to get it, even if it's great form. So it's also learning how to work the camera. There's many different factors that go into getting noticed and booking the job. And that's what we do as an agency, is to help with that. But again, going back to your initial question, is that to get noticed, send in the right photos. Don't send, if you're a champion in fencing, don't send a headshot. I want to see the fencing shot. You know.
So Annette, the best way for people from our community to get in touch with you is perhaps to be referred from me or someone from Athlete Soul, so that you would talk to them.
Anybody that you refer, as you have twice already, I will look at. I will speak to. Absolutely.
Great. Okay, the time is running out. So Shikha, I wanted to ask you quite a few questions. I know the app is specifically, well, is for everybody, not specifically to athletes, but obviously with your background, you can see the benefit of it for athletes specifically. So just real quick as we wrap up, can you give us some example of you as a pro athlete, how would you have used the app to support yourself while you were competing?
Sure. Yes, while I was competing, I wish Loveit was around, because my representation, or even me, would have taken the data saying how many tennis rackets of Babolat I'm moving in India and upped my endorsement deal. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, they often did endorsement deals by ranking or where you are, but you know, when you're number 1 or 2 in your own country of, let's say, 1.3, almost 4 billion people, you can move a lot more product. So that's the way to actually look at who should be getting higher endorsement deals. So data that you get from how much product you can move, and simultaneously, in addition to that endorsement deal, I'm also making my commissions. I would have made like double money there. So I wish that was around then, but it's around now. So current athletes should definitely use that. With Know It also, especially, you know, being a top 100 player, your content is valued more. I would have been able to charge more then than I would be charging now for my tennis footwork drills and things like that. So that's another thing I wish was around then. Check it and shout it, because, you know, when you're playing, you're a little bit of a celebrity, if you will. There's a lot more people that want to reach out for an inspirational message or you know, congratulations or whatever it is from you. So the opportunity to engage more would have been huge. So current athletes, I think, would have a good time on the app right now. Former athletes also, because obviously maybe not as lucrative in some ways, but in other ways, because of what they've gained as a result of being on the other side. What I've also noticed is when we are speaking to the leagues and whatnot, current athletes have less time. Former athletes have a lot more time. So they really fill in the gaps and take the opportunities that current athletes are not doing. So it's a win all around, in my opinion, for athletes, especially who have an expertise. I've really been thinking about them as I've built this app. So, it's for us here.
Got it. Super. So commission, data, and helping support your current endorsement deals. And it's either, you can use it for current athlete and the retired athlete as well.
Exactly. If I can add one more layer on that, I know we're short on time, but the way that social media apps are going, the next big stars are emerging out of apps, and they might just have something really cool that they do at home. Yeah. It's not like you've known them before from doing something else. You can really capitalize on that, even if you're not ranked number 1 or not ranked in the top 100 even. If you can, as Annette is saying, is work the camera and do well at home and have fun, this is the time. This is the era we live in now. You can really leverage social media apps and an app like Indi to make a lot more money in addition to your career as an athlete.
Fantastic. Fabulous. Well, ladies, thank you very, very much for your time, for explaining where you came from, your companies. We talked about mentorship for youth athlete, fitness modeling, and monetization of your talent or your expertise. So that was fantastic. I will send an email to all our participants with the information on each of your company and how to get in touch and benefit and take advantage of what you have created for them. And I thank you for joining us and taking the time. I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. Thank you.